Can you hear us, Alex?
I can. Hi, Maria.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, sir. And I have to see who I'm bringing over for.
Are we doing New Road first?
Yes, if he wants to start the meeting, I can try to find out who I'm supposed to bring over.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order, ACCA. Advisory Committee on Community Appearance. And we have two items on the agenda. One is New Road, which is the first item. The second one is discussion. So if anybody's here to talk about that, we can begin.
1 second, let me just.
And
Yep.
Alex, you look way too serious on the screen. I don't know what it is, that you're much more affable in person.
I don't know who is speaking on behalf of New Road. If it is, I'm promoting who I think, maybe I shouldn't be. I don't, okay.
I believe, good afternoon, Attorney Marjorie Shansky, representing the New Road application. Everybody who's in attendance, I think, Maria,
Sure,
please and thank you.
you are welcome, Ms. Marjorie. Not coming over. I do want to just let everybody know that they overbooked the room tonight. There is another hearing here at 6:30, so.
Oh, we should be long done.
Yes, yes.
That's fine. The time limit is a great thing sometimes.
Okay, I'm promoting these people as a panelist, but it takes a couple tries. So everybody's coming over slowly but surely. Okay. Okay.
And I'm not sure, but I think the architect may be in the room. Is that true?
Yes, I am.
Well, there you are.
Who is it McAvoy? Are they supposed to be here in?
He's certainly from SLR. He's the design engineer. Yep.
Somebody declined, so, okay.
Ron DeGennaro is the principal with the applicant.
Ron, I have. Whoever
Is-
DXC is declined.
Is the landscape architect, I believe.
Is DXC?
Sorry?
Is that DFC?
No, I think
Yes.
Mr.
Shiva Durajani.
Okay. They should be rejoining as a panel. Okay.
And I think that is this should get us underway.
Okay.
So this is the this is the revised detailed site plan for the New Road North, as we call it in the vernacular development. That has been before you once when it had, I think, 47 units. Now it has 72 units, which are an evolution to be more responsive to the kind of housing that the market desires in the town of Madison, to diversify your housing portfolio, a term repeated many times in the Plan of Conservation and Development. And so this is the final step in the Plan Development District of New Road North. And I think that the gentleman in the room can take over.
Okay, I can start. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Duskowski, and I am an architect with the Sullivan Architectural Group. And as Marjorie has said, we are here to discuss 155 New Road in Madison, Connecticut. So tonight I would like to break down my speech into two sections. I'm going to start with a project scope and then go into the project aesthetic. So to begin, this project consists of 18 two-story residential buildings and one-story amenity clubhouse building. As you can see, there are 9 residential buildings on each parcel, evenly spaced throughout the property. Each building is wood framed and it will be set on a concrete slab-on-grade foundation. As you can see in the site plan, there are different colored buildings. These colors correlate to a different scheme in which which I will get to a little bit later when we are talking about the aesthetic. The buildings are arranged on both sides of a vehicular loop to create a traditional neighborhood feel with driveways in front of each building. There are 4 units in each of the 18 buildings where the second floor stacks over the first floor, and the second floor is accessed by a walk-up stair from the grade level. There are 2 unit types throughout the project. So the first is a 1-bedroom with a den, and then a 2-bedroom with a den. And we have arranged these 3 different types to derive 3 different building types that each have their own aesthetic. So to start with building type A, this type is consisted of 2 1-bedroom units with a den and a garage on the first floor. And on the second floor, they have 2 2-bedroom units with a den. Going to building type B, this building type is the opposite of A, where we have 2 2-bedroom units with a den on the first floor that have a garage. And then on the second floor, you have a 1-bedroom with the den. And the last building type is building type C. This building consists of 4 1-bedroom units with a den, and they're paired. Each pair is stacked over one another with the garage on the ground floor. With all of these buildings, the project is going to consist of 44 1-bedrooms and 28 2-bedrooms, and that will bring us to a total of the 72 units with 100 bedrooms being offered. The logic to the arrangement of these unit types and creating these buildings is to provide a variety of options to offer the tenants with different needs. This way, both 1-bedroom and 2 bedrooms are offered on the first floor with a garage, or there will be offered on the second floor that gives a more privacy and a view. And so now I would like to get into the aesthetic of the buildings. So the project has a New England coastal aesthetic using clapboard and shingle siding with various gabled roofs, with 1- and 2-story eaves to create a variety of scale and proportion, individualizing each building. Building type A, as you can see on your screen right now, consists of clapboard siding with 2 color varieties, where their 3 colors will consist of this wheat, which is depicted, and 4 of the buildings will be this warm green color. Each color will have cream windows and trims and the weathered wood roof shingle. Of the 7 buildings, each of the 7 buildings will have a dark brown shutter and dark brown entry doors and garage doors. Each of these buildings also have a front and side, on the front and side elevation, have a a 1-story bay with a dark brown standing seam roof. To get into the units, each entry door is recessed either under the 2nd story, as you can see here, or under a roof line supported by trimmed columns. Going to building B. And this building type consists of shingle siding with 2 colors, where 4 of the buildings will be a light gray as depicted, and 3 of the buildings will be a light blue. These buildings will have white windows and trim with a dark gray roof shingle. The 7 buildings have decorative gable end features on all 4 elevations that will have board and batten, as well as standing seam roofs and decorative brackets. The entry doors and garages will be white as depicted, and each of the 4 entry doors are recessed similar to building type A. The next building type is building type C. Building type C consists of a combination of the clapboard and the shingle with some board and batten, white trim, and a charcoal black roof. All 4 buildings will have white siding. Each of the 4 entries will be entered as the previous 2 buildings above. And the front elevation has a bay feature with a standing seam roof to match the gable features. And now the aesthetic of the clubhouse, which is the 1-story building that we discussed prior. The aesthetic replicates building type C with white clapboard and board and batten siding with white trim and black windows and a charcoal roof. To summarize the aesthetic and the scope of the project, with the use of the 3 different building types having various scale and proportion paired up with the 6 different color schemes, a variety of building aesthetics is achieved, creating a eclectic neighborhood for each of its components to have a sense of place, calling it home. The solution not only creates a humble living environment for its tenants, but for the town as well, where the achieved aesthetic will have a lifetime of timeless coastal New England charm. And so I will stop sharing my screen so then the next person can.
Did you want
Looking to the
to? Okay.
I'm happy to discuss the site plan in some detail unless the board has any questions regarding the building architecture.
Maybe just a couple of questions. If you could go back, I think I'd like to just see your renderings a little larger. They're kind of
Sure.
in the bottom right-hand corner of your sheets, and if you can zoom in on those, it might actually help us a little bit.
Okay. So this is scheme A
Yeah.
with
And-
the, oh, sorry.
And I just have so a couple quick questions. It seems to me, I don't remember, I have a very vague memory when you guys brought this before. Looks like you've developed some alternative looks. Maybe they were there previously, and I don't remember. That's possible. But I think it's a great approach to do different building prototypes. I mean, I think that will make it, just a much more interesting and varied look, obviously. So anyway, I just wanted to be able to see these. So this is one question about the exterior. You mentioned the colors, but is this vinyl? What is the siding? What are the siding materials?
So the siding is going to be a high-end vinyl with a PVC trim.
Okay, so you'll have hard corners on the building.
Yep.
Okay, where you tuck the That's good. That'll.
Yeah, so we'll have the corners trimmed out so that the siding will slide. And you won't see any seams,
Mhm.
as well as the window trims.
Would an appropriate moment be to discuss color choices now, or?
Oh, might as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're in the building now, might as well.
I thought your different color choices were really quite nice and crisp on 3 of the 4 units. But this one, I'm not sure, you said it would be brown and the shutters are brown and the roof is brown. Is that the color scheme for this?
So this color scheme, the color's called wheat, so it's like a cream. And so the windows and the trim would be that cream color. And then the shutters, the doors, and the garage doors would be like a dark brown. And then the roof is that weathered wood.
So this particular color that we see here is not necessarily indicative of the cream?
Yeah, I think this color is a bit more. The render could have a slight brightness to it that can make it look more like it's white, depending on how the sun hits it.
Well, my comment is simply that the other color schemes, I think, if I remember correctly, this is the only one with brown, right?
Yes, so if I can go to so we
Yes.
have cream, green,
Right.
gray, blue, and white.
So the other 3 seem quite crisp to me and very pleasing. This one seems a bit on the dull side, and I wonder whether or not you might want to consider something to liven it up a bit.
Okay.
Like the others have white, and this has no white really, and white usually gives a crispness to the facades. And I just
Okay.
worry that looks dull.
So, yeah, just a couple of quick observations. I think that at the rendering, the 3-dimensional drawing you showed us doesn't say weathered wood to me. I think weathered wood looks a lot nicer than that roof color on your rendering. And part of it's probably the way it's coming through on this particular monitor we're looking at, because I know every screen will depict these things, differently. So,
Yep.
so if that's weathered wood, that will give you a little bit of contrast to some of those other.
It just looks like a dated color scheme to me as opposed to the other.
It looks like that 1970 shingle, right?
Correct.
That's what I thought too.
Right.
Which we don't
Right.
use anymore typically. But if you're gonna use it, I'd rather see it blend, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
And
Okay.
this is Alex, just to echo what Ron just said, I'm glad you brought that up because that was my initial impression as well. And then it's only compounded. I think there's a bit of stone veneer that's on the front, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there would be, think we could see it in these elevations. So yeah, the bays will have some stone to them.
And so when you my take this as an opinion, it reads very 70s and using stone that's not indigenous to the area always reminds me of something like you'd see in Scottsdale or something that's looks like it belongs in the desert but not really in a little coastal town. And I think veneer gets echoed in some of the other units as well. So I did a Google search to kind of see what other towns have used along the shoreline, and it seems like a more cheerful granite or something that's more in keeping with what you'd find in your yard might tie this and give it place, a sense of belonging. But completely agree with Ron. It could just be the monitor, but it reads as very sort of dark and 70s-ish, whereas the other one, right in coastal.
Yeah, I think that the stone veneers are all over the map, and I don't know if you've specified anything. Typically what we'd like to do, and I know you guys aren't in the room with us, but what I think our standard process here is that we would see samples of all the materials, and because then none of us are really guessing at the color other than the lighting, what the lighting does to it in here,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we need you to do that necessarily. We'll discuss that probably at the end, but I think that would make the choices really clear where everybody can go, yeah, that's great, or no, that looks like something that shouldn't have been done. So anyway, if you want to, I think that one of the things that John Cunningham just said to me was, and maybe you can just recap it for us. Are there 5 color schemes in the entire complex or 4? There are 3 different building types, I think you said, right?
So 3 different building types, 5 different color schemes. So
Which building?
type A and B, or sorry,
I'm sorry,
type
which
A.
building type do you have 2 color schemes? A, okay. Is that the one we just looked at?
yes. So type A is the cream and the green.
Mm-hmm.
Type B will be a gray or a light blue. And then type C is just white.
So the cream or green on that type A building,
Yep.
looks like you don't have it rendered in the green. Is that right?
Yes, we only have rendered as cream.
But it's the
Okay.
cream that's the problem.
Yeah, I think if we could see that material, sample, we might have more comfort with it, but
Okay.
I think that's,
It just looks dated.
yeah, I think it just has nowadays they'll use the term retro.
Retro, well, hardly. Some retro.
I know. But I know, that's right. But I think overall, the design of the building is fine. I think the other ones are a bit more creative, but I think this is okay, so.
Hey, Matt,
I guess the only thing I'd say along the lines of, the visual palette here is that there's brown garage doors and then there's brown garage doors, and it really matters what door it is and what it actually looks like. So I think those are all just sort of questions. The copper is rendered on that 2-dimensional elevation there. The metal roof looks like copper. Is that the idea? It'll be a copper color painted metal roof?
I believe, so let's see.
There's some of the doors,
Yeah, so we say brown, so I mean, right now it's rendered as copper. It could be a dark brown metal.
I'm not asking you to change it. I actually, it's cheery compared to all the other brown, in my opinion, so.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just wondered if that was accurate in terms of the visual on it, if it's. Okay, why don't we just, if we could just quickly run through the other buildings, the color schemes, just give us just a quick peek at the rendering.
Yeah.
And then we can,
So here's type B. So this type would be in the gray and the light blue. And so these have the white trim, white windows, white doors. So it's a little more of a pop, and then it would have the a dark gray roof. And then
blue, is it just, I see the windows look kind of blue, but or is that just a rendering technique?
for the glass,
It's on the screen. This looks gray to me.
Oh, the siding?
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. So the siding is gray, and then there will be a light blue siding.
Oh, so are there 2 color schemes for this building type? Or?
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
So that's depicted up here.
Oh,
So
I
there's
see. Okay,
a gray and then a blue.
okay.
And then like the previous building, only depicted right now is the gray.
Okay, and what's the specified roof on that? It looks like the weathered wood to me, but maybe you mentioned.
So the specified would be like a pewter gray, like a dark gray.
I guess we're gonna have to see samples.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you do the gray roof with the gray building, you get just too grayed out, in my opinion.
Yep.
I actually like the way that roof contrasts and it emphasizes all the nice building forms you've done, because it contrasts nicely with the siding color in that drawing.
Okay.
Hey, one thing to point out, this is Alex here. Matt, curious to get your architectural opinion. This house does not have shutters, whereas the brown one before had the plastic shutters that wouldn't cover the window if it were closed, which is always an annoyance to me. Does anyone else have a strong opinion? Whereas this seems so pleasing without shutters. Is anyone else sensitive to that?
I think it looks fine to me in shutters, without shutters, but if you could just pan us up to your 2D elevation, Michael.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's fine.
you've got, the building has some nice form to it and it doesn't need the shutters. In fact, shutters in a lot of places on this building might look crowded, so.
No, Matt, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying it looks good without shutters.
Oh, you're asking if the other building would look better without. the
Yeah, is there a way to remove shutters altogether? If they're not gonna actually cover the windows, even in theory, then that to me always looks cheap. This unit does not have shutters and looks terrific.
Yeah. I guess we'd have to go back to look at that.
Can we go back to the
We
brown
can go back to the brown one and take a quick look.
Yep.
That's what.
You know, it's not, I think it's very plain. You know, you've got those small windows in the middle and those are really kind of lost there without some dressing, you
Mhm.
know? But I mean, personally, I don't
Only 4 windows.
think that the shutters either make or break the building.
I still think it's the color scheme that's. the problem.
Yeah, I would say that's probably more the.
Yeah.
More the thing that you notice,
So it sounds like that building needs to be reworked, possibly with color scheme.
Or if he can show us the green scheme, maybe we get rid of this color scheme altogether, you know, if they would be amenable to that.
Mhm.
So. Okay,
And then here is building type C.
Looks great.
so that looks like almost the same building we just saw, but different color, or am I wrong about? I guess I'm wrong about that, it's different, yeah. But it
Yeah,
actually,
and
it's very nice, I think it's great.
this building's a little more compact. So this building is strictly the 1-bedroom units. So it's not as wide as type A and B.
Okay. Well, I think with white, you can get away with mixing that vertical board and batten and the shingle, and I think when I saw it 2-dimensionally for about 3 seconds on my screen this week,
It looks good.
I thought it was pretty successful, so. Yeah, and I like the contrast that roof gives to the white, obviously you'll have contrast there with white, but. Okay,
Just
And
no-
then lastly, this is the clubhouse. So the clubhouse will have a similar aesthetic to building type C.
What's in the clubhouse? What do you imagine going in there?
So I can actually, so we have a plan that I didn't hit on. So we have a community room and then a fitness center. And then an office space and then a bathroom for the clubhouse itself. And then here's another render.
Well, it's a different color.
Yes, this roof looks like does not look as dark as the other one. But it would be black like the previous render.
Was the other rendering white as well?
Yeah, so buildings
No, the other clubhouse.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That's the same white?
Yes.
It's got a shingle side,
Yeah,
shake side.
Yeah.
So would it have shake siding or not?
Does it not? Oh, it does not. I'm sorry about that. That I am not aware of. My I'd have to my assumption is that what is in the elevation is the intent. And it's an oversight that that was not matched in the rendering. Sorry about that.
the
It is.
three-dimensional rendering was all that.
Okay.
Just back to the stone, do you know if the plan is to have the same stone on these buildings or a couple of different varieties or?
I think when we laid it out, we have them labeled as earth tones. So my thought is that it's all the same, but like you said, it can be discussed, I think, to kind of match like a granite with this gray and blue scheme, I think would go well instead of the earth tone. And kind of bring it back to Madison as brought up by another member of the board. So that I feel like that could be a discussion to change up the stone.
These are for sale units, right? This is a condo thing?
These are all gonna be rental, I thought.
Is it? Oh, these are rentals.
Or these are rent, yeah, but
Oh, they are
I
rentals.
think
Okay.
they're rentals, I
Oh.
think.
Are these rental units or for sale units?
Mr. DeGenero may be able to better answer that.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
The plan is to rent them.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
When we, after we got our first approval, we probably had 15 to 20 people from Madison asking for a rental type community. And most of them were older people that wanted to, maybe sell their house in Madison, but still have some connection and still live here.
Yeah.
Right.
The only reason I ask is I know that what looks like sort of a baby blue, powder blue on my screen, none of my developer clients would ever let me use them. Because they're hard to sell. So that's why I asked. But I'm not saying I don't like it. Again, if we had that material in front of us, we could give you better feedback.
As a builder, of course, I wanted to make them all the same color, but the architects talked me out of it.
Good for them.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Looks like a
I think for a rental community,
Yeah.
it's perhaps a better way to go. I think it makes it more lively. So
Thanks.
Are we going to move on to the
yes,
site plan?
yeah.
could we, before we leave this, and I don't want
Yep.
to belabor, Michael, if we could just go back to your initial site plan with the color coding.
Yes.
So along the road, so is that new road to the left in Horse Pond to the
Yeah.
bottom? Is that the way that goes? Where's New Road?
New
the
road
right.
to the right.
Where is it?
New road is to the right.
Oh, I see.
Duck
Okay.
holes at top.
Duck hole is on
The
top.
north is left, right?
Me?
North, if there was a north arrow here that I could see, there probably is one.
Sorry.
It would be pointing to the left.
No.
Or sort of, okay, whatever. So anyway,
New road is up at top.
okay, New Road. So there's 3 buildings along New Road and there's 3 buildings along Horse Pond or whatever it's called. And so the colors of those buildings are all 6 of them different? Can you just walk us through what the colors are, those 6 buildings? that
Yeah.
people can drive by?
So, this is building 3, it's a type C, so it will be white. This building is a type B, so it has the gray or blue option. We chose this building to be gray. And then this is another type C, so that this building will be white.
Okay.
Um,
So you
and
have
then when you,
white, gray, white, that's nice,
and then when we come down here, we have a type A. So when we get to this road, we have a type A on the inside and a type A on the bottom.
Yeah,
So
you don't need to
one
give them
option,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but unfortunately we are on a time limit tonight, but
Okay.
if you could just walk us through the stuff that's along the public way on the top of the site plan.
oh, sorry, yes.
Those 3, that's what people are really gonna see in town,
Okay.
so that's what we're sort of supposed to be focused on from our
Okay.
perspective. So,
So this building, this is a type B, so this will be the light blue. Next to that is a type A, which will be the cream. And then next to that is another type B, so it will be a gray.
okay. So that cream could go green, right? Then we'd have blue, green, gray, that might be a little much.
It could go green, then I would probably change this
Change that,
building
yeah.
to cream.
Yeah, anybody have any strong opinions about what this looks like on the road?
Definitely.
Okay, go ahead, please speak.
Well, no, I agree with you completely.
Oh, okay.
I think blue, cream, unless it gets changed, which I hope it does. Blue, cream, or green and gray is pretty heavy. I mean, all together.
I think the whiter colors look more elegant, in my opinion. This is going to be to Matt's point. This is going to be where people on Facebook and in town, once this gets going, are going to start noticing and their ears will perk up and everyone will be interested. So to Matt's point, I think New Road and Duck Hole Road needs to really look terrific because that's what the public's gonna see.
Thanks for the geography there, Alex. I needed it.
It's a weird name. I still call it Horse Pond.
But, well, as this is preliminary, we can worry about this at some other time, as long as the color schemes of each of the buildings is acceptable. So juggling the colors and where they go is just sort of.
Yeah, I don't think that
I'm
the
planning.
blue, I just don't think the blue is gonna play well on that primary corner where everybody's gonna see it.
Yeah.
And that's my
I
suggestion.
think gray.
Maybe that goes to gray and then white in the
Yeah.
middle and gray again,
Gray, white.
especially if they decide they want to move to. I really think 4 color schemes might be better than 5.
Right.
Right, I think if you reduce the
Yeah,
number.
okay.
Get
We,
rid of
and
the gray.
I think we also recognize that when you change these perimeter buildings, you change them. It will have an impact on what you're doing on the inside, and you don't want to have, too many oddities, but I think that's the difficulty in juggling so many colors. You've got some great different building designs, and I think you could just, you don't necessarily have to have such a variation in color, in my opinion, so.
I think John hit the nail on the head. Four colors in the grays and the whites, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I don't-
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
No.
No, let's
Yeah,
get let's get on the
Yeah, we'll move
site.
on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The builder will be happier with that. Only 4, not 5.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay.
Sure.
So, there's a little different orientation on our site plan. But, in this case, north is more or less more or less up with Duck Hole Road located on the east side, New Road on the south side. So just gonna walk you through our plans very quickly, because a lot of this is probably more planning and zoning related, but I'm sure you're curious as well. So our entrance to the site will be on the southwest corner. As I'm sure you might recall from previous meetings, this site is unoccupied at the moment. It used to be a single-family residential house that's been demolished some time ago. It's mostly overgrown to this point. But we're looking to enter the site on the far southwest corner nearest to the adjacent commercial driveway entrance, which is just off the property to the west. Entering the site, we're having a 360-degree loop configuration. There will be an emergency exit out to Duck Hole Road. This will not be used for regular vehicular access, only when needed. And as was mentioned by the architect, we have some 18 buildings throughout the property. The ultimate designation of this will be two parcels, whereas today there's 3. And just a little more detail in the layout. We do have sufficient parking for each building, either in the form of a garage space or surface spaces immediately adjacent to the building. And there are a number of visitor spaces as well. Some concentrated around the clubhouse, some located in clusters of 3, 4, or 5 surface spaces throughout the site. In terms of site utilities, and not going to go into any significant detail, but these will all be on septic systems. As you're all aware, there's no sewers in Madison, and the soil testing proved to be very favorable, located along the eastern side of the property. So most of the leaching fields will be directed towards the east side of the site. Stormwater will be collected and conveyed and brought to an underground stormwater basin located near the clubhouse underneath the parking lot for the clubhouse. There will be 2 smaller surface ponds located in the south and the southeast corner of the site. Southeast corner of the site will be the ultimate discharge, which is also the lowest portion of the property. In terms of the road grades themselves, this is relatively flat. Most of the driveway grades or road grades as you go around this will be 3% or less. So it will have a relatively flat feel to it and will not have a significant amount of topography. The only area where there is some grade change is located in the northern portion where we're up at like 5% roughly. So relatively gentle in terms of the topography of this property. It's a little unique. I'm sure there's much more challenged properties in town, certainly in the region, for residential developments like this. In terms of landscaping, we're trying to accomplish a couple items. One is to provide ornamental trees along the streetscape internal to the site. We do have typical foundation planting plans for individual units, and also to provide screening on the perimeter of the property where possible. Along Duck Hole Road to the east, we have a series of evergreen buffer plantings located along the property line. There is a fair amount of vegetation right now within a very large right-of-way on the west side of Duck Hole Road. There are some overhead utilities, but there's a pretty wide swath of state right-of-way between the edge of pavement and the property line itself. So that buffer will be maintained. There's no intent to cut down any trees within the Duck Hole Road right-of-way, with, of course, the exception of our emergency access drive. But largely downgrading of our leaching fields, we are proposing evergreen buffer plantings along Duck Hole. Similarly, along the commercial property to the west, we do have buffer plantings as well, generally evergreen in nature. And along the south side, we do have a series of more shade trees, not the evergreen buffer that we were having on Duck Hole Road. But again, the intent of this layout is to provide adequate ornamental trees, shade trees within the internal roadway network, and screening along the east side and west side of the property with a variety of shade trees along New Road itself. I do have Sheba from my office, who is a landscape designer who could go into any more detail and answer any more questions you have about our species selection, if you do have any questions regarding that.
No, I looked at the plant list. I think the plant list for the entire site looks fine to me. Couple little suggestions I made. I went through it today. I see you have straight Clethra alnifolia in your foundation plantings.
Mm-hmm.
I would just make a suggestion, maybe to go to one of the dwarf varieties, like 16 candles, or one of the smaller varieties. I think you're going to have a much easier time than trying to contain straight Clethra.
Sure.
Not a big change.
A really good suggestion, actually.
Yeah, and I see you used, even though I'm a big fan of sugar maple, they're having a real hard time down here. They need cold winters. So I see you have red maple on the plan. Maybe you just move all the maples to red maple and maybe delete the sugar maple.
Sure.
Which I think long-term might be a better.
They're hardier, so.
Okay.
Sure.
Everything else looked fine. I went through all the plants. Majority of them are native. You have a range of evergreen stuff along Horse Pond, which I like also. I worked on the property across the street from here. It's a lot of the same material I'm using over at the new office building. Okay.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
John, can I follow up on that? Remember across the street, historically, there was always, you can specify just a lot of cedar. I don't know which varietal you would know, but is that, it seemed like since I was here as a kid, there's always been like a specific kind of cedar that's grown in these fields. Does it make sense to kind of incorporate some of that back into both sides? So there's some
Alex, they have red cedar on their landscape plan.
So there is red cedar. When I had asked about the landscape plan, I did not see one, so I missed out on it. My mistake.
Eastern red cedar. Yep.
Yeah, Eastern red cedar is what we're using across the street. It's the native to this region, Alex. So, and they have it incorporated in their landscape plan, which I think is a good choice.
That's great. And across the street, you would put in a pollinator meadow.
Now we crossed that out from across the street out.
You crossed it out.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm just fooling you.
No, it was a good.
All of their stuff, Alex, is fine on the plan, and they have plant material that will work as a pollinator form of shrub material. And I didn't really look at their perennial list, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
So you are kidding.
Yeah.
I have one observation. I don't know how other members see this. In your upgrade from how many 42 units to 70 some units, that's quite a significant increase. And while that's a noble effort to include, multi or more housing units in Madison, what I think it's done is it has crammed this site full of hardscape and houses, to be frank, and really leaves almost no green space within the development. And it's only on the outside of the development where you see some green space, and that's not really a whole lot either, for people to use and to be comfortable with. I think once you're in here, because this is going to be a one-way 360-degree road, right? Not two ways. is my
No,
guess.
it'll be 2 ways.
Is it two ways? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that makes it even wider. So the cars, garages, the entryways, and the buildings, even though they're quite nicely designed, I think it'll all be in your face in a way if you live there. And I'm just concerned that there were too many buildings jammed in. I don't know how other people feel about it.
There is, well, it's a good point. I think there's a lot of density there. If you're able to zoom in on that site plan that we're looking at right now, it just might help us get a better feel for it. So where the backs of those two buildings in the center are facing each other, that looks like it's probably 100 feet anyway between those two buildings, talking about those two there, yeah.
Yeah, this is close to 100. You're probably a little bit, you're probably more like 50, 40, 50.
Further to the left on the south side.
Well, the entrance side is where it can get a little congested. So how deep are your parking spots in front of your garage doors? Just gives us a sense.
We have a minimum of 22 feet between 22 between the garage face and the actual driveway.
And the go lane. No, it's absolutely minimal, but.
I mean,
That's
they're on
what
the
it is.
street. The back of the car is on the street.
22 you can generally comfortably get a car in, and that's only on certain units. Other units like here, we have more like 28. And in general, we try to keep 24, but 22 is the minimum. And I would argue we've had success with that in the past. It is close, but for your typical residential vehicle, that's not
Yeah,
challenging.
it definitely works, and so you're sort of creating this little micro-urban neighborhood. It's kind of used, I would say, Ron.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. The view seems a little more open. Than this. I'm not sure.
Maybe, I don't know.
What is that space in the middle with the
What
cross
do they call
section?
those pocket
Is that the
neighborhoods?
clubhouse? What
No,
that-
this is the clubhouse, and this is
It is.
the parking
See that?
associated with it.
Yeah, no, they use every bit of it. They got as many as they could.
Well, that's my objection, I guess.
So Ron, so now I'm totally confused. Ron, my initial instincts were with you. It feels very crammed. John just said the landscaping plan looks fine. I think this is the landscape designer architect's job in the layout to make this feel less crowded and more park-like and spacious and beautiful.
Alex, I think landscaping is landscaping. Design and planning is sort of different. I mean,
Okay, so it's not.
Those wants X number of units, and that may not be appropriate from a design and a layout point of view.
So who's responsible then for creating like the layout so that it flows and it's less crammed?
Well, it depends on the specific design team and the roles and areas of focus of expertise of the different players, Alex. But what I think is important and what our charge is the fact that it's really tight once you drive in there of any kind of an aesthetic concern from the outside looking in. Because remember, our view from the public way is primarily what we're supposed to be focused on. Now, planning and zoning may look at it and say, this is a lot of density, and they may decide it's or comment. I'm not sure if they can even decide it based on the regulation and say that it does, that it's too much. I think that when I look at the buildings, and this is a good test. I mean, you've got those. If you look right along New Road, you've got these two-unit buildings. I don't know how long those buildings are. That building's probably 60 to 70 feet long, I'm guessing. And then center building is probably 80 or 90, I'm not sure, but the proportions of those buildings, I don't think are, objectionable from the street. And I think what the developer really benefits from here is all the excess right-of-way frontage that he's got along Duck Hole. And he's got some good buffer there to New Road. And I think that so what they did was they kind of pulled all this stuff in, I'm sure part of it was just what the land would afford them, and they needed those areas for septic and for detention and other things. But I think that aspect of the whole thing makes me not as concerned about how dense it is internally. I think that's just my opinion. You've got 3 buildings to look at from New Road and 3 buildings from the other road, and you've got this big corner. And I seem to remember we talked about that corner the last time we were here, about just how dense the vegetation would be. I also know with all those leaching galleries I can see, I think that's what I'm seeing, those parallels.
Right.
That you're basically clearing that whole thing. And what happens along the very perimeter is important because they're going to need to reestablish some stuff. And if you're doing all that leaching there, you're regrading, I would assume, so on.
Limited. I mean, we do have some regrading. The leaching fields are located in areas where it's sand and gravel, which is nice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have the density, certainly, on this
Yeah.
property if the soil conditions weren't appropriate for that.
I mean,
But we do have a substantial area just by virtue topographically, by virtue of the soil conditions, septic, stormwater, that the intersection of Duck Hole and New Road, several hundred feet from your first unit.
yeah. I
So
think that's what makes me less concerned about just maybe what it's like internally. That's my opinion. Just one really quick question. I know we got to get on this other thing, but we're going to get tossed out of here.
So one last question though, Matt, on that corner, because that's what I was trying to bring up before, where John on the other side sort of mirrored that, where it drains down. Is that not going to be a meadow or something that looks natural, that doesn't look like a city? I mean, what I can't really see on the screen, where the leaching fields, what's on top of the leaching fields? Is that lawn, or is that
that'll
gonna
be
meadow, or-
that'll be lawn. That'll be lawn. We unfortunately we have to be a little careful about how close we plant trees to leaching fields naturally.
Okay, so my suggestion then, if that is going to be lawn, then instead of going with like fertilized induced, like green artificial looking stuff, that be turned into something that's mowed several times a year, but allowed to have some sort of natural look to it, and be planted with wildflowers or something that's
Pollinators, yeah.
yeah, whatever the de rigueur word for that today is.
That's a fair comment.
Yeah, I think as much vegetation as you can put there, then, and I don't know anything about what tree or how big it is initially, but one day it would be nice. I would think that corner would grow in around that detention area, maybe between there and the leaching, and you'd get some nice big shade trees in there, maybe some understory that would sort of help buffer it.
That's what we're looking to provide along.
When I think about our aesthetic critique of anything, I mean, I do put this a little bit in perspective. You've got basically tens of thousands of people go by on the way visiting the beach there, and I don't think it's really going to be noticed, So
I don't
it's a
think
section that I've crossed almost every day for many decades now. But I still can't remember the name of that road, but still. That's right now I do.
Yeah, I don't think that your average person coming down to Hamnats is going to be all that concerned about it, but we do have a very large distance from this intersection, which obviously is a pretty busy part of town coming from Clinton.
What it probably is that people are going by there 40, 50 miles an hour, maybe even faster. And it's very different from most of the reviews that we're required to do. So it's just a different kind of site.
And when you look down again towards this intersection, you're hundreds of feet away from Duck Hole. And as we get a little bit closer further up, Duck Hole starts to tighten up to the right-of-way line, the actual paved portion of the road. But you're still looking at, well over 100 feet to the nearest unit with existing vegetation within the very, very wide shoulder of the road, supplemented with screening planting. So again, these units along Duck Hole are I mean, I'm not gonna say they're not gonna be visible from the road, but they're gonna be somewhat removed.
I still don't understand what that crosshatch section is. The clubhouse is next to it. In gray.
This right here?
Yeah.
Oh, this represents this is an underground stormwater,
Oh.
stormwater drainage system beneath the parking lot.
It's, you see the stretch of the cars.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
we-
that a parking lot?
Yes.
Yes.
I suppose the one thing we should have been looking at more so than the fronts of these buildings is the back, because that's what we're gonna see.
So some people are gonna be looking at this park, I mean, quite a lot of people are gonna be looking at this park. This parking lot's gonna be in the center of this development?
That's correct. And we have it surrounded with arborvitae's and
Yeah.
screening plantings from the units.
Whole hardscape, the entire thing is paved.
Matt, do they come back in front of us again? This is just a preliminary, so we can ask about lighting and all this.
Yeah.
This is not a preliminary review, is it, Maria?
No, this is the application, and I was just looking on the agenda to see when the public hearing. The public hearing is tabled to November 21st. So we're not gonna see you. We're not gonna.
So if we have.
It starts on the 21st, so you can see them like the in the beginning of December again, yes.
This is, Mar-
Opening on the 21st, and not
This
like
is-
right away.
this is Marjorie Shansky. For clarification, this is a site plan review. It will
Oh, it's a site plan review, sorry.
just to clarify.
So it's a site.
So
plan,
it could be heard and
So there is no
decided.
public hearing.
No, but it
No
couldn't be
public
heard and
hearing.
decided in the same night.
Okay.
Yeah, but if we, for instance, if we want to see samples of the building material and the
You
actual
can,
colors.
yeah, you can, and it would be, yeah, I guess they can make it.
Pending our approval,
Right,
that can still happen,
Yes.
yes, yes,
as opposed to many other things too.
yes.
So when would that happen though? Given the shortness of time for today's meeting, I don't feel comfortable that we've covered everything that we should have. So
That would be
we're gonna get-
the December meeting.
Our December.
Okay. Not to be a jerk. I like what you guys are doing, but I just want to make sure I'm doing what I'm.
December 10th is the next meeting.
So we'll see you guys in December again. Okay.
Okay.
If they're gonna come back, yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta look.
Uh,
I think
they
we gotta
have-
look a
they're
little
going
bit-
planning
I think we gotta look
zoning.
A little bit at the back
Yeah.
of the buildings.
And we need to see building samples.
Yeah, we need to see materials. I think that
We
would
need
be,
to see materials.
yeah, unfortunately, the media doesn't
Okay.
give us a sense of that at all, really, what the colors are.
And that's something that they can have somebody bring in December, even if it's Mr. DeGennaro. Building samples.
I'm sure we can take care of that.
And what about light poles and
We're gonna have to unfortunately talk about that in December. We do
If we're gonna
have,
see it again, Al, we'll still
yeah,
have
we
to.
have another application and we're being thrown out of the room at 6:30 for a
No,
public
I was
hearing.
just saying for the next meeting,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to cover that.
Okay,
Thank you.
for some things to think about.
Was there a full plan? Was there a lighting plan?
Um,
I know the original application had one. Just scrolling through the site plan right now.
It wasn't a modified one at all, or?
No, we didn't prepare and modify. We can have that for the December meeting.
Okay,
But it'll be the same concept, same style lighting and all that. So
okay.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so second item here is informal discussion for School Street, which is the old Academy School.
Right.
Let me just get rid of the.
Yeah, wow. Site looks a little dense. I really liked how they developed the street wall at the back left and top of the site. I think your comments were really good. I felt though, if they removed two buildings in the core so that the community building sat in the middle of this green space, that would be much stronger.
Sure.
There's no open space on that plan.
No.
There's zero.
Yeah.
Or even in one of the buildings, so that the community center had some green space next to it, would be great.
Well,
The
we'll
par-
address it.
The parking lot sucks. If they could just put the parking along the road, that'd be better. And if you could convince them to put a front facade on the backs of the units that are on New Road and Duck Hole, architecturally, that would be great too.
Should have been looking at that.
I wanted to see if this is the one. This is-
Yeah, I think that's the one. 8/11/8 was when we made the submission, right?
Yeah, I think this one says slides. There's one that Aaron got this morning. Yeah, it says, there's one from 11/20, it says 11/12/24, and then it says ACA slides.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's two, I don't know, this
No.
doesn't go in my Hoosers.
Oh, no, that's a bummer. Well, we
No.
can work
Yeah.
from this, so this is great. Well, anyways, thank you. We'll get going. Tom Arcari from QA&M Architecture, 195 Scott Swamp Road, Farmington, Connecticut. I also have Brian Kent from Kent Frost tonight to talk about the project itself. Because we're on a short time frame, I guess what I'd like to do is point out the things that have changed since our last meeting. We had a good meeting last time. You made some solid recommendations. So maybe, Brian, if you want to talk about the site work, talk about the things that have changed, and then when we get to the building, I can talk about the things that have changed.
Okay. Well, so there's been just some minor tweaks to the site plan that were required by some of the subsurface infrastructure that has been refined, and mainly it's been the septic system requirements has required that more of the paving become pavers so that it can be removed in case any of the septic system needs to be worked on later. And these are the walkways around your smaller existing buildings were previously shown as concrete for budget and just simplicity, but they have been changed to pavers. So it increases the distribution of the brick paving through more of the site, which we think is a benefit. Yeah, thank you. So on this plan, we have our lighting, and your comments about some of the lighting fixtures and some of the other appurtenances, like the furnishings of the site, had to do with their really being kind of an eclectic mix, and some of them had more of a historic style to them. And what was recommended was that we look at really trying to unify the furnishings and the light fixtures so that they represent the contemporary period, which is today. And so we've done that. So now we have more of a uniform family of furnishings and lighting fixtures. The light sources are all LEDs. They're all dark sky compliant, and most of the site lighting is kind of low level anyway, with exception of where we have to have higher lights around the parking lot, for example.
Do you have examples of the front?
Yeah, we do. We're getting to that. So our last
Go back one?
Go back one. Yep. Yeah, so that'll be my last slide. As far as planting is concerned, there's really been no change. I know we had to tweak this center rain garden in the parking lot. We had to make it slightly smaller. I think it's 3 feet narrower because of the septic system adjustment. Otherwise, it's the same plant list that you reviewed previously. It's mostly native plants. They're very tolerant. Drought tolerance is important, as we all are thinking about lately. And
Can I make one suggestion?
sure.
I think it's in the basin plan, I see you had multi-stem river birch.
Okay.
Can I just make a suggestion? I haven't used multi-stem 15 years. It's a big grower.
Yep.
And those multi-stems, they want light in each stem. So if you look at a tree that is 15 years old,
Yeah, I see.
it's extremely large.
Right. Yep. No, I agree. They'll spread too far. I think that's more of a land effects computer program type of.
Okay, I think if you went to single stem, just
Yeah,
quote
I-
out single stem, the same
for sure.
size caliper, rest of the plant material is all great.
Sounds good.
But I think it will stay in bounds with in in that.
Yeah, I
base
agree.
level of the
I agree.
house.
No, that was not my intent. Okay, this is my last slide. So these are furnishings. Starting at the top, it's that simple black ornamental aluminum fence around the playground. And this is where we change now. The bollard, it's part of the lighting family that matches the area light. So the next light is the one that's in the parking lot, and then there's two that are out on the post road side of the walkway. So they're all by Guardco company, the Pure Form line, so they all match. And these bollards are terrific. They have no glare whatsoever. They cast the light down onto the walkways, and they look great. The other lighting, we have some seat wall lights. We have some. So just the right photo just gives you an idea of what the light pattern on the pavement looks like. And then we have the festoon lights over the linear walkway. The other furnishings on the site are bollards, trash receptacles. It's touchy, I know.
It is.
And bike rack, benches, and then there's a seat wall top that's made out of a prefabricated wooden material system, so that concrete wall around the central tree is comfortable to sit on. And we've changed all the benches. So one of the oversights was just some of the renderings that you guys saw in the last one, just had some of those kind of template furnishings put into the renderings, and they didn't really represent what we specified. So what we've specified is a more contemporary style for all of those things. Playground equipment is just kind of standard modular. I don't think we had any comments on that, but we did have comments about pavers. We talked about whether they would be concrete pavers, or whether they would be red brick pavers, or whether there would be another paver or another type of clay paver. And the consensus of your committee was, let's see if we can find a more of a gray tone clay paver, because clay in general holds its color much better than concrete. Concrete pavers tend to fade over years. So we spent a fair amount of time talking to different distributors and sources, and I have a few samples here. This is what we propose to be the general field of the pavers. These are clay brick, and these aren't stacking the modular. This is what we're proposing for the accent that would be sided. And this is a permeable paver sample, so it's got the lugs. So they would actually sit about 1/4 of an inch apart from each other, and that joint allows the stormwater to infiltrate. The areas where these are being set are very flat, so we really don't have pitch to have drains. We don't really want drains anyway, so it'll allow that stormwater that falls on the paved areas between the building and the parking lots to be absorbed into the.
So all the paving is permeable?
Brian, could I see that? Could I see that in the other pair?
Yeah, sure. Yes, it's all of the modular paver areas, so the walkways.
If I could add to this conversation, the architectural team was actually very happy with this change, because one of the comments that you made at our last meeting was that the building is red, it's traditional red brick, and it was too much red brick everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, the other comment that you made was about the connector and the change of the material color. And we've changed that to a dark bronze that will match all of the dark bronze light fixtures. All of the elements will be in the brown family, which will work quite well with this grayish tan and dark tan.
Are these gonna be permeable too?
Yeah, it's just that
Oh, you didn't have samples.
Supplier-
They're all gonna be.
the
they're all gonna
supplier
be-
brought us samples, so he said in this color, I don't have a permanent
Oh,
solid.
okay, no problem.
So they'll all be.
Okay.
all have it.
Yeah, they'll all have this. We'll have
They
that
all have a
chamfer.
beveled edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole, all the patio areas are all permeable.
They'll all have.
Then they can almost, you can run less dead low.
So you'll have that wire drop.
It's because that's the one plus with permeable.
Yeah.
That's, now everything can be level. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
No, I like this color.
Yes.
I think that works.
And as we mentioned at the presentation, the walkway that runs north-south is really meant to be an outdoor sort of
Yep.
gathering activity, free-function space. So flat is much better. And now the bollards will all be in the same color family as the building. And we presented that concept to HDC after we met with you. HDC concurred they would like to continue to see the center of the building be modern, have all the amenities be modern, so it doesn't compete with the building itself.
Can I make one practical suggestion?
Give me a second.
It's not-
While you're thinking, Tom, it's Tom, right?
Tom Arcari,
Choice
yeah.
of benches.
Yeah, so I caught you in some of the other meetings. I got a chuckle because I think ACA, we gave you one direction and then the Historic Society or whatever gave you another. And I got a chuckle when you described to your committee the conflict between us. But
Well, that's not atypical, but I think we found common ground between what we're trying to accomplish. So obviously we'll have the same conversation with HTC when we go back to them. Here's what we've changed and why, and if your committee approves of some of those changes, then I think we'll have support for the approach.
Do you
Okay.
do you have on this presentation another? Can you show us the facade again?
Yes. So I think at the back of the presentation, so this is just floor plans. You can flip by that. These were the exterior facades that showed the scope in the demo. We can go by this. The scope hasn't changed. We are restoring the exterior of the building, all the masonry. We are replacing all the windows in kind. I did bring some samples of the window that we're specifying tonight, which is the Marvin. Yeah, that's great. So we are going to use the Marvin clad wood historic series window. And then they have casing shapes that we can match the existing shapes. Not the same color. We're going with the white color. But what we did change on the exterior of the building is we changed the connector to be a dark bronze, and very similar to what you experienced with the other architect. Sometimes it's difficult for us to get the exact color to show, but it's going to be a dark bronze, and it will match all of the exterior amenities as well. We removed the signage from the canopy, and we now have, we've actually just put a small sign on the facade of the building, so that it can be seen from, as you approach the site.
Do you have a full-on shot of that new entryway and how that goes?
Here?
Yeah, a close-up.
This is as close as I have for you this evening.
Can you describe how the doors and how that works down there? It's not straight across.
Oh, so this is a box out. The vestibule is actually outside of the curtain wall, because there's not a lot of room on the inside, but it all sits under the awning.
So you walk in there first and then you walk into the building?
Yeah, so if we go back to the floor plan, maybe you can see that. Keep going back. The plan should be back a little bit.
I'm going the wrong way.
I'm sorry, slide. Go back a slide or two. I don't know if that's
Double.
Yeah.
But Tom, this is what you reworked, I think, right? Where you had it in white and something.
originally we had it in white, or anodized aluminum, and you guys recommended the dark bronze, and I was against it personally, but I like the dark bronze in the sense that it will now sort of be more demure, and it will let the original historic building stand stronger. It's not competing with it. So I do like it. Oh, where's the new floor plan? Maybe keep going the same way you're going. Again, another one. Maybe one more. We don't have the new floor plan in here. Keep going.
Please hold. I have another one. Hold on. This is a different one.
So there's no floor plan showing us the entryway?
The entryway, we presented it last time, and maybe let's keep going a little more. That was a street. Oh, here. One more, maybe one more. Okay, here's the floor plan. So you can see that the vestibule, that glass bump out is the. Yeah.
I'm already on it. Look at me.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so this bumps out, the overhang is out here. But this is the airlock essentially to the building. The depth of this classroom bay wasn't significant. So it was either bring the curtain wall of the building all the way out to the facade of the building. And we actually chose to leave it recessed so that this corner was proud. And we talked a little bit about that at the last meeting, is letting that corner of the cornice wrap and be reconstructed. So this bumps out, but it bumps out under the overhang, so it's really not apparent. And I think it makes it a good concealed entrance. And then it allows the mid-level entry corridor to remain about 8 feet. So there's enough room to get inside, get access to the elevator, get up and down the stairs. We did also change on the elevation, the cornice to this connector. And if you could go back to the rendering. Yep.
Question. So roughly, what's the dimension of that vestibule for scale?
Oh, that, go back, scroll back up. One more down. Awesome. So, yeah, just scroll to the next page down. I know, right? Trying to preserve your time. So there's about 7 feet clear.
So it's minimal.
Yeah, it's really, the code requires you have 4 feet from the end of the door open to the other jam.
So it's the mirror, for sure.
It's just enough to serve its function.
I don't mind it the way he's got it. I mean, you know, that.
It looks like you needed one and added it.
Well, they had that problem.
That's the way it looks.
Well, they had the problem because they had to add it, but they.
I know.
But that big floating canopy kind of mitigates its, first of all, that it's being off center.
How far out does that canopy go above that thing?
It sticks out like another 5 feet.
So why couldn't,
And then it comes in here, so.
instead of leaving the old building proud, those however many feet it is, that little jog, if you connected that vestibule, maybe even made it a little deeper, and jogged that instead of, in other words, connected it above that corner. If you went straight across.
Oh, you mean let
Yeah.
the bottom
Here.
part of it
Yeah.
lap that corner?
But not line it up with the building, but actually set it up
I don't know.
in front of it.
I don't mind it tucked in
Because that
there.
way it doesn't look added on.
I don't mind it tucked in there. In fact, and I'm sure you guys debated this internally. However, what I would consider is not having it float, just having it connect over to the right.
Oh,
Get
here.
rid of that sidewall on it.
Yeah.
Just let it sit in the corner. You know, it's off center, but I mean, so is the 2 bookends you have. You know?
I think that's an easier resolve.
That
than-
simplifies it, and then it makes that thing sort of less important because it's not out there by itself.
It keeps me from getting screamed at by Public Works for all the junk that goes in there they can't get out.
Yeah, it's gonna be dirtiness. Yeah, I think if you just let that thing close against the other building, I think that'd be clean.
Could do that.
That'd be better.
Real quick, I know you're running out of time. The exterior elevation, Maria, which was the renderings at the end. I just wanted to point out that we had maybe this one up here is fine. We had a very big parapet, very tall parapet. We dropped it down and made it even with the even with the adjacent building there, so that this parapet turns the corner, goes out. It has to be reconstructed, but it'll preserve that corner, actually reinstate that corner of the original historic building. So, I think this is a nice solution. It's progressive, but it really sort of creates a true sort of demure hyphen and lets the original building really stand out. Aside from that, architecturally, the only other things we added was, we brought some samples of the insulated glazing, which is just insulated glazing. That's in the curtain wall. And then the spandrel glass, which I had an example of. The spandrel glass, which is just a little bit of it, will match the color. Will be mirrored and match the color of the frame. There really are not a lot of materials on the building. It's just the windows, the curtain wall, and then, all of the existing gets restored to its original nature.
I think it looks terrific. I
Is
think
that-
it'd be a really nice.
Does that have a little green to it, Tom, or is it just something we're picking up in the room?
I think it's picking it up
Okay.
as the light comes
That's
in.
fine.
but
I think it's fine.
Here is the dark aluminum, and that all the exterior finishes will be the same. You can see it really kind
It
of
does.
complements itself.
Oh, yeah.
And this will be the, sorry, this is so I appreciate your input. I know you have a lot going on. We can talk about being back here in December, after a referral from P and Z. I don't know when our public hearing would be in.
It's just, it's going to be received. It was just brought in today, so it gets
Yeah.
received at the meeting, the first meeting in December.
Okay.
So, because it's a public hearing, I guess it probably will not be heard
So this
until
is coming back
the
to.
19th.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is still
Good.
Because the application just came in this afternoon.
No, it's good though.
So it'll be received on the 5th and the public hearing is probably more than likely December 19th.
Great.
And then you'll have to go to historic in December.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you have time to.
So this is a question for Matt. So with, I follow this stuff along closely, Tom, and I know we went out to bid and we're hoping for stuff back on December 2nd or whatever. How many things are we looking at could potentially be value engineered and moot points? If we're looking and giving our opinions on stuff, but we all know like budgetary restraints and those of us that follow this closely know that a lot of this could be on chopping blocks. Will we as a committee, Matt, get a chance to review any changes that end up ensuing from what we hear back from bidders?
I would say yes. I mean, I think that, I don't think Maria's gonna run them through modification of special exception unless the scope of it changes. But I think if there are changes to the material selections and any other kind of building form, I think that's something they would probably need to bring back.
Yes, if there's major like site changes, then yes,
Right.
we have to go back.
Or
to
architectural
zoning.
change.
Yeah, right.
Or major architectural changes in
Right.
building, yeah.
I think it's almost impossible to speculate without knowing what they would be, Alex,
I think the one
Either, for example, look expensive, but they're beautiful. Is that something that could get changed back to something that we did not like if we don't have the money for it?
Have to review.
Fortunately, I would say we're gonna have bids in place prior to us coming to you again in December. So I'm going to be able to tell you, hey,
Right,
this
then
is
it's
what
right.
we're doing. I can inform you the town's plan is to see where the bids come in and then potentially go back to referendum to address any kind of budget overfall, because there's a lot of grant dollars. They'd like to apply some of those grant dollars to the project. They have to just get permission so that they're not increasing the referendum amount. If something changed significantly, we'd have to come back to you. I can tell you for the building, there's very little we can change on the building. That would be VE because we're not changing very much. It would probably be, unfortunately, a site change if it was significant. But I can't comment on that other than we will know where we are when we come to you next.
Good. I like what you're doing. I just don't want to lose any of this beautiful stuff.
And you know,
Yes.
what goes in, Alex, and I'm gonna tell you why, because with this type of a project too, this adaptive reuse, and when they tear into this thing, they might find undiscovered, estimation issues, and so you're never gonna be at peace until those pavers go in. Do you agree with that?
That is true, although P and Z, because it's part of our drainage system, P and Z is gonna require it's either pavers or pervious
I
pavement.
know,
There's
there's
no.
all different grades, and these are very nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys, I appreciate
Good luck
it.
with everything. Okay?